Hey Connor, you want to talk about AdMech?
Of course I do. What's the
I'm going to
basic?
spin a command point on Vox Scream and keep you from activating and being able to talk about them, but I'm sure they'll come up on the Vox Cascadia podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I hate you.
I think
I'm
that's going
doing
to
very
be
good. Not anymore.
the earliest in the podcast we've got an I hate you out of Connor. So new record.
New record indeed. But I'm doing good overall. We have some exciting stuff to talk about today. Vox Scream will definitely come up. It was just a good weekend. I got to see Tyler for a very brief minute over the weekend, but it was pretty fun.
Yeah, you got to play courier for Nick because Tyler apparently at ChuckyCon, besides defiling my house, stole cards from people. Right, Tyler?
I did. I end up with a lot of cards. If you're missing like half of a deck of tac ops, or crit ops, I have them. They've just been sitting in my room for like half a year.
Well, luckily we tracked down the approved ops cards for Nick because he was missing them. I mean, luckily it was just like the loot and capture cards or something like that, not the most important ones in the deck, but we got those back. Connor's making a delivery to the rightful owner this coming week. So besides finding cards, what else have you been up to, Tyler?
I've been working on Nemesis Claw a little bit, prepping bodies and arms and stuff like that, and getting ready for when the full kit comes out on 420.
Yeah, I was really thinking, I had in my mind that they were coming out this weekend, and now I'm so disappointed that they're coming out on the 20th and not the 30th or 13th. But they are real. They're in the wild. People have them. It wasn't just a big joke. It wasn't a nightmare, that we all had to live through. For myself, I finished up a commando. I had pretty much a full commando roster, except I didn't have two boys, so I had to run the flamer. So I actually found a Beast Snaga online that I purchased, got it painted up with my Fnatic paints, and finalized that. And then just this evening, I also primed a Votan because I needed one more guy for my Votan roster too, because I didn't get all the right heavy weapons.
Why didn't you let me know you needed an orc? I literally have 6 sets of commandos on sprue still.
Well, I don't know what your inventory is, so now I know though. And everybody else, you heard that too. If you need an orc, Tyler has your orcs.
Yeah, hit me up if you need stuff. Never hurts to ask. I've got a lot of random stuff.
I guess you probably bought, was this just from buying like 6 Octarius boxes since you have 40 sets of the terrain?
I think in all I've purchased like 8 sets of Octarius, maybe 10 now. So yeah, I have a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of that Octarius terrain floating out there, and we're going to be using it coming up in about 2 weekends for the Blunt Force Beatdown, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
You're missing out, though, that even though the box isn't coming out this weekend, it at least drops on the day of our event, continuing the trend that GW is secretly supporting our events by making them happen the same day box releases.
Well, so we also have an event on May 18th up in your neck of the woods, Connor. Does that mean that's when Termination is going to come out?
Confirmed, yes. I am actually in secret talks with GW to make sure they can give us that.
So you've got some pull with GW then? So where's that AdMech team?
Yeah, my dad is actually James Workshop himself.
Well, then we're going to have some words. I got some things to ask.
I do not love my father. He lets me down a lot in this regard. But yeah, I wish that there is a new AdMech team. The new teams are exciting, but it's not AdMech, so it's not as exciting as it could.
I was going to say, did you guys see that little preview on Warhammer Community for the rumor engine with the terrain, and they're hinting at Kill Team, and then there's references to Sisters? So are we getting new terrain for 3rd edition and a new Sisters team or something?
That'd be pretty cool.
I didn't see that actually, which is surprising.
Let's link it to Tyler or to Chuck.
Send it over.
But maybe they'll answer my prayers and we'll get like a battle of the faith of the Imperium type thing, like Omnissiah versus full religious ecclesiarchy team, AdMech ancestors. I'd be so happy. Me and Zach would probably buy like 5 of those boxes and share them.
AdMech versus Sisters? That's not a very good box. Not very compelling. Like, let's get Sisters versus, how about Tyranids? That'd be great.
Nope, I want my AdMech, but Tyranids would also be a welcome bespoke team too.
Wow, so I'm taking a look at the rumor engine from today, and I apparently was on another planet today because they're talking about when you're within triangle where cover line crosses the obscuring terrain, and that's a Kill Team reference. They said if you didn't play Kill Team, and there is a Fleur de Lis in there, which is definitely Sisters stuff. Urge to Die, yeah, that's pretty spicy. I didn't even see that.
I think that one of the rumor mill content creators was talking about 3rd edition coming out in this year, and new terrain with it also. So this kind of lines up with what we're seeing from some of those people. So that's interesting. Hopefully some of the other stuff they're saying isn't true though.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Yeah, just there's a fleur de lis, it looks like terrain. Yeah, that's well, they're apparently not getting rid of obscuring then in the next edition if we go by this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really making my mouth water, honestly. Like new teams, that's really exciting. This is rumor mill stuff like far future. I love it. I'm eating it up.
And hopefully just a full-on return back to basics terrain, some just high quality stuff like the Octarius we were talking about. They nailed it with the first box, and I still feel like they're chasing the high ever since.
Yeah, well, they only did the one really box the first season of bespoke terrain, and then Into the Dark was all Into the Dark, and then Beta Decima hasn't really stuck the water landing of the Galifall. See what I did there?
I don't get it.
That was a flop, man.
See, at the end of the second season, the Gallowfall actually, or the Gallo Dark, did a Gallowfall onto the planet of Beta Decima, and that's why nobody's fighting on the water planet, because the train, everybody hates it.
Still don't get it.
Have either of you played the Beta Decima since the updated rules?
I actually have. I played a single game on it. It was pretty fun. It definitely fixed a lot of the problem, even though I was a team that could abuse the ignore obscuring thing. I think the fixed jump test is just a solid change overall. Glad to see it implemented. And it's still got some problems, but I like it a little bit better now that it's a visibility thing. I did notice through talking to Zipper Lips community member, or Grant rather, the fact that it's now like the way it's worded does create some issues, because certain psychic attacks, like the roll 6 dice between you and the Harlequins player type of deal, that technically can still happen, I think, but like shooting attacks can't, which is really weird.
That's one of the things with like some of the psychic abilities that they've always allowed, like they've ignored obscuring and stuff like that. Like really just needed the line from head to head with nothing in between.
So I'm curious to see if that's what they're intending, because like it's a psychic ability. I can see why it could happen, because I don't know how the warp works. I'm not a psyker, but I imagine you can detect a person's presence. So maybe it's okay. I mean, like, there's only a handful of things it applies to as is, but it'd be nice just to get some full clarification.
One thing that I saw from the narrative rules, I don't know if you guys saw this, that are coming out with Nightmare actually, is the ability to swim. So you can actually like jump in the water now. So, which people are saying that that's really going to help the teams that, especially the melee focused teams, that they're going to have more lanes, because you can get in the water and swim and still be obscured. You don't have to like run up the edges of the board.
This isn't like an April Fool's joke late, is it?
Yeah, are you serious? Because that's nuts if you're telling the truth and not lying to us.
No, it's right in there. It's in the narrative twists. So Beta does narrative twists. I'm looking at Canyon Roll Crit's website right now, and it says swimming. Operatives' bases can touch hazardous areas, and they can move into them. While an operative is touching a hazardous area and wholly within the hazardous area, it's swimming. While an operative is swimming, it's in cover and cannot make shooting attacks. You can also dive. When an operative drops from a vantage point to swimming, it can dive. The vertical distance an operative travels while it dives is ignored. Once an operative has dived during an action, it cannot move out of a hazardous area during that action, i.e. it must swim for the remainder of that action.
That is nuts. And now I just want to play a match like me and my friends would often do in Call of Duty Warzone when there's like water world maps. Just go in the world or go in the water and try and knife fight people on boats and stuff. That's crazy that they added that in, though. That's super cool.
Absolutely. Taking a look at it, the currents and whirlpools too that make it move around faster potentially, or like take damage, or get stuck. Really cool.
There's even a couple other things too. There's like a sea monster. He doesn't show all the narrative rules, but there's like a sea monster that pops out, and I think you each turn, they had it in the narrative, or in the Warhammer Plus thing that they had, where you would take damage if you were standing next to the edge of the water potentially.
That's pretty fun. I like that. Hopefully then if there's a fourth box for this season, they add in like a little Zodiac boat that you can use to cross the water too. Kind of like a zip line almost.
It'd be nice if they just brought swimming into the actual gameplay, because with the changes they've made to visibility and obscuring and then swimming, I think it makes this map a lot better.
Yeah, I think swimming would be honestly a really cool addition. Really mix up like how you do this. But most of all, in the fourth box, I want the sea monster. If you're going to give me rules for a sea monster, I want a model.
Just make us like an Ashes of Faith style box, but it's two kill teams fighting on a full scale boat with a sea monster model, and so you get to like it's just like the ultimate like D&D encounter type thing. But two kill teams fighting over some cool like relic on a boat, and there's a giant like Tyrannid sea monster creature or something.
So let's talk about some other things with Nightmare. So obviously we have the swimming rules that are only narrative, so we'll never actually get to play them. But we have two teams. We have the Nemesis Claw, and then we have the Mandrakes. So let's talk about Nemesis Claw first. And Tyler, I'd love to hear what you think about them, because I know you were an OG Legionaries guy, and now you finally have another Chaos Marine team. And so what's your thoughts? What's some of your favorite guys? What's some of your favorite plays?
So, I mean, I think the entire team looks incredibly fun. Really nailed the flavor with this one. All of them have like very fitting abilities. Obviously, you know, like they're all melee focused for the most part. I think that this is an interesting team for elites where you're leaving out the gunners or the heavy gunner more often than not, which I love during Legionaries. You know, I rarely took mine. I think that the Skin Thief is, he's an absolute monster, and the Ventriloquer is just gonna completely mess with other people, and I love that.
Yeah, the plays that guy can do with just moving models or swapping orders is so crazy powerful, and it looks so fun. Having I heard some of the stories already, people have talked about like they're playing it on TTS or just practicing the models and stuff. Hearing what you can do is just nuts. Like I remember Jack, another awesome member of our community, said that she I think dashed an assassinate target like into the open turning point one, and then just had their plasma gunner like shoot them off the board, and that was turn one. So I can only imagine how crazy that's going to get if the ventriloquist guy can stay alive and do that multiple times throughout the game.
Yeah, I think that the Ventriloquer will eventually see a nerf to limit visibility and stuff like that, or line of sight, because right now it doesn't require it at all. It can just, you know, it's another from behind the wall kind of thing, which makes sense a little bit because, you know, it is psychic. It's probably going to get nerfed in the future. So have extra fun with it now while you can.
Yeah, it's only 6 inches though, so I don't know. I could see it getting nerfed, like you say, but because yeah, it seems super powerful to move somebody out into range of your plasma and just nuke them. I don't, I don't see this team. I don't know if this team's going to get big nerfs just because they're an elite team and they suffer from a lot of other things. They do have some new toys that I'd like to see on other elite teams to help that fact that they're being out activated so much, though.
Absolutely. This team, with their ability to pass, basically shuts down other elite teams completely. I don't think that this is really winnable for other 6 model teams in most cases, unless they just completely nerf or botch their prescience rule with their leader.
Yeah, from what I've heard from some of Jack's games, she was saying that the games where she got good prescience rolls were the games that were good. The first game she played with them, she did not get good prescience rolls, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue. You definitely need the CP. I think it's going to be a team where you need to conserve CP turning point 1. You know, you're really looking to make sure that you have enough to do everything you need in 2 and 3, and you're setting up for turning point 2 where you're a little bit back further and you're just trying to delay activations, force them to make mistakes and capitalize on it, and then get yourself into safe positions after making a kill or two with each operative.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that one of the first changes they do to the team, if it's requiring a little bit of help, is making it 1 plus D3, or some sort of thing that tries to make it a little bit more consistent. Just because, like you were saying, if the prescience roll is bad, it's going to really hurt the team, especially in any non-elite matchups.
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was just another Kill Team podcast, and they were saying that that's going to be one way that Nemesis Claw can be balanced pretty easily if they come out and they are too weak and they're not winning, is get that, like you said, that D3 plus 1 to make sure that they're guaranteed at least 2 of those tokens and up to 4.
It becomes extremely frightening to think of them with 8 tokens at the beginning of turning point 2, though, if they manage it correctly, or 6 because they'd want the CP. You know,
how fun would that be though, to be able to use all your fun toys and not have to worry about it?
I mean, it would be like playing novitiates back in the day.
Maybe they introduce like an overall cap or something, like maybe a cap of 5. So if they do the 1 plus D3 or something, I'm sure there's ways they can play around with it that will help without hopefully making it too ridiculously strong.
Tyler, what do you think about their survivability? Because they don't have any of the tricks that legionaries have, and they still have just as many wounds.
So I think that this is, a technical team. They're not meant to run out and stick it out. They're Night Lords, like it's hit and run. You fight an unfair fight. You're not trying to run in and butcher people or walk into the middle and take bullets like Death Guard would or anything like that. It's like complete guerrilla warfare.
I think it's definitely fitting, especially the stuff Titus described of the guerrilla warfare aspect of like Night Lords and how they kind of act and lore and everything. Though I do wish, just in general, that Night Lords and Legionaries went up to 13 wounds. I think with how prevalent power swords, or power weapons rather, are as a profile in the game, that 12 wounds isn't really enough in most cases unless you're the Shrive Talon or you have a fight first type mechanic. But overall, I think the plays they have access to is pretty unique enough to keep the team surviving, and I like that they're going to be a bit of a high mental load team where you really got to plan how you're going to use their mobility to be the most effective with them.
Yeah, they're definitely extremely mobile. Both of the teams from Nightmare are extremely mobile, and people need to be aware of the ranges that they're going to reach out and touch you at, because like the Ventrilo Loca is going to be moving people forward. Turning point 1, if you get a good piece within that 6-inch range, it's gone. It's going to be walked down to the middle of the board and shot.
What do you think about the Skin Thief? So it's kind of the Butcher equivalent, but as I've heard, it's what people wish the Butcher was.
I mean, the Skin Thief is probably one of the best operatives in the game. Like the Tyrant of Skin, -1 from damage characteristics of enemy operatives' weapons, really, really good. And then the ability to, like, once it incapacitates an operative, they can select one other, and they can't perform mission actions, which is basically the Crimson Duelist, but a big old Space Marine.
So do you think these guys have enough tools to, in the way they're set up currently, to jump into the melee meta that we're kind of seeing and be an effective team, or do you think they're still just going to suffer too much from being an elite team with not enough activations?
I honestly think that they have the tools. I think that this is a very competitive team given the current meta. What we're seeing is some of the other teams were toned back just a little bit, enough to really allow, I think, this team to come in and fill the void that Legionaries is not for a lot of players.
Is there anything that you came out with this team that you're like, oh, come on, really? You couldn't have like given us a little bit on this?
I'm pretty happy with it overall. I think it's like a pretty fluffy team. I think that it's easier to tone up a team than to have them come out extremely hot, just feel bad like Colts did. Colts were just incredibly abusive in those first few weeks, and it made the game pretty rough for that period if you were going to major tournaments.
So are we going to see these at Tacoma Open, Tyler?
I'm definitely, as it stands now, bringing them to Tacoma. I think that they're my favorite team just in the way that they're structured. I love a good control team. I love controlling the way that the battle flows and stuff like that. That's why Novitiates really appealed to me, and this is Night Lords that do that, which is even more my thing.
What do you guys think of the In Midnight Clad? So In Midnight Clad, for people who don't know, when determining if a friendly Nemesis Claw operative is in an enemy operative's line of sight, that friendly operative is obscured if all of the following are true. It has a conceal order, it's within black 1 inch of heavy or light terrain, and or any part of its base is underneath a vantage point, and it's more than 6 inches from enemy operatives it's visible to.
I mean, I think it's going to be incredibly useful. I think it's enough to push the survivability if you position correctly and you play the KG game, which I think this team wants you to play. This is not a turning point 1 team. You're going to do a little bit of chip damage, kill an operative, hopefully a key one, that first turning point. You're going to set up some plays, turning point 2, and hopefully really, really push the advantage, turning point 3, and stuff like that. If you play KG, I think it's going to really reward this team, and it's going to give them that extra little bit of survivability that elite teams need to not just get shot off the board.
So a little bit of rule interaction here. So the bullet point, it's within 1 inch of heavy or light terrain, and or any part of its base is underneath a vantage point. So the way that reads to me, it reads really funny, the and or part of its base being under a vantage point, because it makes it sound like you can be under vantage, but you don't have to be under vantage, but you have to be under vantage.
So I think it's just saying that you can be under vantage, and with it, it's not exclusively that, and you don't have to take one of those things. You're saying it gets this if you're both of these also. just to.
And then what do you think about the fact that you have to satisfy all three of those? Do you think that's a little too much and that should have been like maybe 1 or 2 out of 3? Because we'll see in a little bit that the mandrakes have something similar, but they only have to satisfy one of the 3 potential conditions.
I think it's pretty fitting. They're a lot less squishy than mandrakes are, just in general. And if you play it properly, I think you should add, like I said, that extra little strength to them. Just make it so that they're not dying as fast as they would, making it so that people have to overextend themselves to make shots, or maybe they're not able to make the shots that they thought they were, and that causes people to make further mistakes and allows you to capitalize on it, which is, again, extremely fluffy.
So Connor, I know you're never going to play anything other than AdMech. So how do you beat this team?
Ruststalkers go Burr. Pretty much just the same plan I have for Legionaries. Probably doing some 4-5 balanced. There's some thought to maybe doing the 4-6 running Ruststalkers. I'll have to really experiment with that. That's the main thing. It comes down to any 12-win teams is whether or not they have the tools to interrupt a lot of my dice manipulation. And from the equipment that the Night Lords have, they definitely do. So I'm thinking 4-5 balanced is the better profile. Otherwise, try and get in within 6 for my gunners and shoot them off the board. I think overall it'll be a matchup that will really come down to, can I get an Alpha Strike, which is the best case to do against like Legionaries or any elite team, and they can't really do that because of the In Midnight Clad. So I might have to be a little bit more aggressive turn 1 with Rusty's on engage behind heavy cover. And that's the AdMech corner so far.
So one thing that you're going to have to be aware with specifically is that they can turn off rerolls pretty easily. So you're going to be in a rough spot when you charge into melee and you don't have those. So balance is probably not ideal into this team.
Is that an equipment, or I'm trying to remember that? I haven't played against them yet, so I don't remember or not really remember, but I haven't got familiar with them yet.
Yeah, it's the flayed skin. Okay. As long as you're within 3 inches of this operative, you can't reroll attack or defense dice at all.
Is that one limited?
I don't believe so.
Let's take a look here. Okay, because the chain snare, that one's limited. Interesting. Okay, well, yeah, that's going to definitely... We'll have to see. Yeah, that's going to definitely play a factor, because then it might be better if they can just spam that, just to go for the rending RNG and hope you roll a 6.
That's what I've heard that some people are bringing, too, is they're bringing, I think, 5 of those flayed skins off the bat, just to figure the team out, at least.
Yeah, any sort of reroll denial is good, so I can see why.
Yeah, I definitely think that you're going to be bringing at least 3 of them at minimum. Grizzly Trophy's an auto take also, in my opinion. -1 attack is incredibly powerful, just period. You can't overlook that. And then when you combine it with the skin together, it's just nasty.
Yeah, that's okay, looking at it, not limited to EP. That mixed with a Flayed or the Grizzly Trophy will be a brutal combination. You just put that, I imagine, on the Skin Thief, and he becomes like so difficult to kill in melee because he's got -1 damage, and you're not rerolling your dice, and you have 1 less. That's brutal.
So it can't be the skin can't be on someone that has the Grizzly Trophy, but you'll likely see them kind of rolling in packs. So you got to be really careful with the positioning. And that's really the thing with this team, is that they're going to force you to make mistakes. They have the equipment that really kind of just messes with you. They have the tac ops, or not the tac ops, but the ploys and stuff that do it, and the abilities that just kind of throw wrenches into plans. Really, I think anyone who's planning on fighting these guys really needs to study up and get some reps in with them and against them.
So, and then the Night Lord Ventriloquar, the guy who's got a kind of an icon banner with a Space Marine body on it. Tyler, what chapter of Space Marines is on your banner?
It's gonna be the Dark Angels, because Dark Angels and Night Lords hate each other. Very classic thing. So, and I'm a Dark Angels player too, so it only makes sense. That's who's on all of my banners currently for my Night Lords, is just dead Dark Angels.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't say Blood Angels. I thought you'd do that just to get at Chuck a little bit. But that sounds fair to have it be your other army. Just have some fun little lore for your own self right there.
I appreciate that being lore accurate is more important than sticking it to me.
I mean, it being lore accurate and the little rivalries between my own kill teams and armies is that's all part of my headcanon. My butcher is the Praetor from Horus Heresy with the jump pack and the chain glaive, and he has if you look at the back of the model, there's like these little banners, and a lot of people paint them like banners, but they're actually degloved skin from someone's hands and arms, like blowing in the wind. And so I say that that's like Eldar skin because he killed a bunch of my other Eldar, So it's all just like they all hate each other.
You need to see if you can find a Dark Angel's head that's got. There's got to be a Dark Angel's head out there that's got the Dark Angel's chapter symbol tattooed onto it, and change that out for the head that's on there.
I absolutely have one. I think that there's a lot of good conversions to throw in here, and I love that idea.
And speaking of flayed skin, we've got the Mandrake's kill team. And I feel like most of them are wearing, I imagine it's a skin skirt on all of them. Probably not, but another new kill team. So 9 model team, basic elf loadout, 8 wounds on most guys, 9 wounds on the leader. They've got some weird saves though, and some funky weapons, and they kind of flip kill team on its head in a couple certain aspects. Connor, what do you think of the Mandrakes so far?
Mandrakes are pretty cool. They got a lot going on, but I kind of like that they are almost the best comparison I can make is Blade of Cain, where they have like 2 or 3 specialists, not so much the normal specialists or more specialists than Blades of Cain, but having now played against them, half their team is just basic warriors, which was a neat little change, I thought. Overall, pretty cool. Their shooting being full range was surprising, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was weird going from a 4-up save to 5-up on my AdMech, but hey, I've rolled plenty of 1s and 2s as is, so I ended up being fine.
Yeah, I love that both of these teams have the same tailor, them and Fabius Bile and stuff like that. They're all shopping in the same place.
I now want to see just like a hammer and bolter animation or a fan animation, but like just from the perspective of that tailor, like some guy who's got like the best tailoring shop in the warp, and it's just all awful, horrible stuff in it. But like a new Space Marine walks in and it's like going to a say yes to the dress type parody show, but of a Space Marine finding his true flayed skin suit.
I love that idea. I would watch this animation immediately. I think it's completely fucked up and perfect for the setting. Because that person exists. Like they're out there sewing skin for people to come get and pick up. They're like, hey, we make the finest human skin dresses in the warp.
Yeah, some weird cultist tailor on like some rich hive city planet that got invaded by Empress children or something. He was like, this is just even better for me. I'm able to run my business without the secrecy I had to use beforehand.
Yeah, I think we do the 40K version of what was that show with Tim Gunn on it?
Is this before my time? I feel like this is before my time.
Probably. It's the one
Yeah.
where they had to tailor their own stuff.
I know what you're talking about. Next fashion. It's like a next fashion thing, not top model. But yeah, it was good stuff back when it was out.
Project Runway?
Yes, I think that was it.
Yeah, we need a Project Runway for skin suits.
I want to see 90 Day Fiancé in the 40K universe.
That wasn't before my time. I know Project Runway. I just didn't know the name Tim Gunn. All I can think of is James Gunn.
If you know Project Runway, how do you not know Tim Gunn? I've never seen Project Runway. I know Tim Gunn.
Because I was like 8 when it was airing, okay? But I know the name of the show at least.
Yeah, make it work.
So 90 Day Fiancé in 40K. What's that? I mean, you can't pick somebody who's a guard member because they've got like a 15-minute lifespan, right? How's that show going to work, Tyler?
It's going to be people emigrating to the Tau Empire, all kinds of aliens and stuff like that, and them dating Tau or existing immigrants to those planets. So that's the shape. And I think the 15 minutes thing is once deployed.
Does the concept of a green card marriage exist in the Tau Empire? Because that's how we can get some beautiful, trashy reality TV in the Tau TV universe.
I mean, like, it definitely exists in the 40K universe just because of ultimate bureaucracy. Like, it's just like another thing that they can like put into paperwork and like make a process. So of course they're going to have that in 40K.
Yeah, that tracks. I can see that as another nightmare for the poor bureaucrats.
So we'll go deep cut here. I'm sure Connor's never heard of this. Green Card, the movie with Gerard Depardieu and Andy McDowell. Your silence speaks volumes.
That's definitely like before his time. Like
I
he
just had to Google it. It was in 1990, so yeah, that's 8 years pre me.
Oh, sweet summer child.
I do like that. I can say probably I should have said 8 years BC because this BC is before Connor, and that fits my ego even better. He was more important than me, you know.
I think you've got a whole like world religion that would dispute with you, but we'll stay out of that. Let's get back to the mandrakes though and their skin dresses. So you were talking, Connor. You mentioned that they've got 4 normal soldiers and then they've got 5 specialists. A lot of people were thinking that it was going to be a lot like the Blades of Cain, where instead of having a bunch of specialists like we see on most teams, you were just going to have abilities. So what do you think about the team makeup and how they came out?
I think it's all things considered pretty cool. It is a shame that the specialists don't a ton stand out other than I think the Shade Weaver. They all kind of look pretty similar. But I think they fill roles that are definitely needed in the team. Like the Abyssal is essentially just a gunner. And I think most teams need some access to a gunner. And it's cool that he's kind of like a mixed gunner. He can either do a blast or like a slightly better attack with lethal. It's pretty neat. And having 5 dice on both of those is pretty fun. And then the Shade Weaver is probably my favorite of them all, just because I like the model a ton. He's literally like weaving shade to on his arm, which is super cool. And we haven't had like really a full cross map teleporting operative yet. We have a little bit of like Eldar and Warp Coven psychic actions to do it, but this one's just like super cool across the map teleport, and I love it. Grant did it yesterday in our practice game, and it was pretty cool because it meant there was an operative I couldn't touch the entire game pretty much. And I think it is a unique idea too, just their teleporting in general, because it opens up something that's very unique of like you still are hyper mobile through the entire game, no matter how many operatives you lose, which will be useful for scoring stuff like recon tac ops and just like getting on objectives that you thought were safe in your deployment zone, but suddenly aren't anymore.
I'm really curious with it. You're talking about shadow passage, which, well, at least shadow passage is what they can do. If an operative is within shadow, they can perform a free normal move action with it, but instead of moving it, remove it from the kill zone, set it back up so they can teleport within shadow, not with engagement range or line of sight of enemy operatives, but they can't shoot. And within shadow is basically you have to be within black or 1 inch of heavy terrain feature or beneath a vantage point or within black of a shadow portal, which is something that Shade Weaver can throw down. Is this going to be? Do you guys think this is going to be super flexible? Because what I've heard is it's going to be hard, if especially against horde teams, because you can't drop them within line of sight of anybody. So you're going to end up. I mean, there's a lot of line of sight on a lot of boards with the horde team.
So I think that this is still going to be extremely powerful. You know, since it's a lot of ore on here, like there's always going to be stuff that allows the mandrakes to capitalize on their abilities generally, whether it's teleporting across or on into the dark, how they're basically always going to be within shadow. It's going to be extremely powerful for this team.
Yeah, it's felt really powerful in the game I played yesterday, and like Toast said, the fact that it's or rather than all of these is definitely a huge bonus to the team. Just the teleporting itself is super crazy, and I'm excited to see what people can do. From the first game played against them, it definitely feels like a team that's going to be a very high skill ceiling and a huge learning curve. But when people are pulling off these crazy trick combos, it's going to be really really fun to see, unless you're on the other receiving end of it. Then it's going to be a little like, what the hell am I supposed to do against this? But hey, that's kind of the point of Mandrake, so it fits.
I think I might run them out because I think they're going to paint up really quick. I've been thinking about a scheme in my head to get them on the board super quick. I don't know how I'm going to differentiate the warriors versus the special guys. Somebody said that, I mean, even for myself trying to keep track of them, Matt, who runs Nova Open, was on the Squad Games podcast and was talking about maybe just doing weapons on the warriors in one way and then the specialists have a different weapon to keep the warriors apart. Do you guys have any ideas about how you want to paint them up or how you want to differentiate them?
Yeah, that was going to be my suggestion, is going with the weapons. You know, add little tints of color and stuff like that on the blades. Maybe there's different glowing effects to separate them out, or you know, maybe add little details to the bases that help you separate them in your mind at least.
I think base decorations would definitely be a solid way to go. Like Choose of the Flesh, put him standing over a corpse. Shade Weaver, he's kind of simple enough. He's got a very distinct look compared to all the other ones. But like the Dirge Mom, maybe try and find an arm that has him pointing directly out rather than just kind of looking to the side, since his whole thing is like marking a target or something. Maybe put in like an Auspex or a recon type looking object on his base as well.
Are you guys thinking about running this team?
I'm definitely gonna paint him up, and as a devoted elf and Night Lord player, I gotta try out both of these teams. I do think that this will probably be the strongest elf team that we've ever had in Kill Team up until till this point.
So what do you think though? And I mean, I don't know anything about Kill Team, but to me it seems like this team is going to crumple to a strong wind if they're not within shadow. And I know people are saying like, okay, you're going to be within shadow a lot, but there's going to be a lot of objectives that you have to get out onto, and you're not going to be within shadow if you need to loot them or you need to stand on them, secure them. So, and then at that point, they're saving on 5s with 8 wounds. Do you guys think that they're going to? I mean, are they just going to be super high skill ceiling, and you're just going to adjust to that? One thing I was thinking too is that you're having to play against these guys, maybe you make them come and fight you where you want to fight them, get them out of shadow to shoot them up.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. Is trying to make sure that if you have the basis to do so, make them charge you and be out of shadow. I think more than anything, it's really going to come down to the pilot of the mandrakes, and like we've all kind of touched on so far, a very high like adjustment and skill ceiling. Because at least in the first game, for me, I can see the strength of the team, but ironically, I think they're Hunter Clade's easiest matchup because a 4-up save's okay, but there's still only 2 APL, and my team likes to sit on objectives. And if they come to objectives, that's good for me. Plus, the 2 APL hurts them compared to like Corsairs, which are pseudo 3 APL, and Harlequins and Blades of Canes, which are 3 APL by base. So we can kind of tie them up on objectives 1-to-1. Plus, while the Drukhari are a 6-up or 2 APL, they have a 6-up Feel No Pain, which is enough to break a lot of my breakpoints. These guys don't have that, so I can just 2-tap them most of the time, which is really nice. Again, AdMech corner. But I think it's really going to come down to both terrain and even more than that, the actual skill of the pilot playing the team.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is a touchy team, but all elf teams generally are, except for Harlequin. I think that they're going to be a little bit cagier. I mean, like all elf teams are kind of cagey, but with proper placement and movement and stuff like that, I think that they're going to be extremely annoying. Their mobility and ability to activate before you with like their leader and stuff like that is incredibly powerful, and really again gives tools to disrupt how the game is played and how you want to do your plans, and that's very, very difficult to deal with sometimes.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely the team that interferes with your plans more than anything else. The leader's like ability where he doesn't even need line of sight, he just needs to be within 6, and sure it's only like a 4 or a 5 up or excuse me, it's a pretty consistent enough dice roll that they can just kind of make it you have to choose another guy to go. That mixed with their like single time use per turning point, but it comes back if they kill someone. Feel No Pain, sure, still a 5-up, but that's a powerful tool. The leader has a lot going on that will make him a pain in the ass to deal with.
And you can't forget that this team's going to be dashing basically every time you activate a model, so they're going to be moving up on you very fast, and they're going to be positioned to do stuff that you won't expect.
Oh yeah. The dash, Grant kind of forgot it a little bit yesterday, but the few times he did was definitely a good choice because most of the time, if they're charging someone that's not within shadow and they can't be within it, if they kill them, if you don't kill that model immediately afterwards, that model probably can dash into shadow, which is going to make that 4-up indolence save a lot harder for most teams to deal with unless they just roll all crits.
Well, both teams seem pretty exciting, and I think I'm thinking of schemes for the Night Lords and just running through my head how I can paint those up pretty quick too. And I think they're going to be a fun team to play as well. Y'all have any final thoughts on either of these teams or the box in general?
Soul Feast was I did kind of forgot about that. That was incredibly scary because Grant healed his leader from like 2 wounds back to full. It was some solid damage he did, but I was like, oh shit. That and Robin Ransack is probably the easiest thing in the world for them to score because if you charge someone and don't kill them, they odds are kill you on their activation and then just teleport away. So hey, that's 2 points for Robin Ransack on like turn 3 or something.
Tyler, what about you? Any final thoughts on either of these teams? We're just excited for new Chaos Marines.
Yeah, I'm just excited for both these teams. This is the most exciting box I think they've released for Kill Team, at least for me, just because it feels targeted to me. This is a box for Tyler from Games Workshop. Sorry, it's supposed to release in January for your birthday, but we messed that up.
They just wanted to make the box extra perfect for you, which is a nice thing for when me and Chuck inevitably get our dream boxes, which is totally going to happen, right?
For sure. I have no idea what my dream box would be. Maybe we'll talk about that in the future, though. And Tyler, they didn't make your birthday, but they're gonna make your anniversary.
For sure, that's going to be amazing. It's just going to be probably upsetting for my partner when I dip into the game store on our anniversary, and then I drool over the box, the rules, and the minis and stuff like that, and talk about Kill Team all for our anniversary.
You got to have that like sitcom style setup where you say you're running to the bathroom and then you run to the game store down the street from the fancy restaurant you're at, and like just look at the box and you got to run back and forth the entire time.
I wonder if she was like, "Hey, there's a tournament that day, and I got him away from it," and then GW was like, "No, we're gonna put Kill Team in your life, anyways."
Hey, Games Workshop, are you trying to separate me from my partner? Is that what this is? Complicated ploy to do so?
Maybe James has a thing for them. Connor, you talk to your dad.
I'm sure I'll see what I can do.
Then which dad is it? James Workshop or Brandon Bean?
In this case, this would be James Workshop, I guess. I have a lot of dads, apparently.
Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time too. Well, cool. So that's Nightmare, and I'm excited for it. Something else that's really exciting that's going on in the Northwest here is our narrative campaign, Bands of Porteus. So it's been going on for a couple weeks now. We got some stats from it. We wanted to have Fabi on the show, but we're just Zencaster is not working out with Fabi and his system. So we're working on that, and hopefully next week or soon we'll have Fabi on to talk about it more. But I've got a couple stats. So the campaign itself, we had 81 players that have signed up. We have had 84 games so far that have been recorded, but that doesn't mean that's all the games. We may have some that didn't get scored on accident. There's two teams. Team Dubrawl has no Hand of the Archon players, and Team Van Hell has 4. So just some little stats that we got out there. Next week, I want to come with some stories from the community as well, too. So keep an eye out for those. Connor and Tyler. Tyler, you're playing in the campaign. Connor, you're a store advocate. Can you guys talk about what it's been like for you guys so far?
Yeah, sure thing. Not a ton has really gone on my end, at least just as a store advocate. Thankfully, though, the event's going well. More so than anything, it's meant that we've had 2 new players kind of get into Kill Team, which has been really exciting. It's definitely more hectic teaching a new player how to play narrative on top of Kill Team, but both cases they've really enjoyed the game. They were interested in the story and stuff, and they're having a great time. And everyone I've heard so far is having a good time. So I'm happy. Well done. It's really cool, and I'm hoping that one of these days I'm gonna try and plan with some of the guys from my local area. We're gonna go and raid like one of the Seattle stores, and then raid tomorrow or in 2 days we're going down to raid the Tacoma store, which will be pretty fun.
So, and what is the raid entail?
Yeah, pretty much you just go down with a bunch of your friends from your local area and just challenge people that are normally in that location during the scheduled day to play the campaign. And you just got to go and win in the glory of your rogue trader. And if you don't, you die out of shame. But it'll be fun because it's kind of one of the main goals of the campaign is to try and get people a little bit more like connected with the members of our community, because we might all see each other on Discord and stuff, but this is a really good way of just getting to see other teams you don't normally play against, meeting the people and putting faces to the Discord icons and handles, and just getting to check out other stores. Sometimes they're going to have like a box that hasn't been available in like 4 years, and you'll be like, holy shit, this is my white whale. I saw that at one of the stores I stopped in down in Oregon and picked something up, which was really cool. But it's adding to the experience of playing Kill Team and being a part of a huge, awesome community.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've got a lot of people that have been popping down to Shiv periodically where I play out in Kaiser, Oregon, and it's just been neat to see extra faces and get all the games in and have motivation to go to other places and play and see your friends. Like Connor said, see other stores and stuff like that.
Tyler, you were bringing your Hand of the Archon out. Have you had a chance to get any narrative games in yet?
Yeah, I've got a few narrative games in yet now, and then with the stuff I just completed my Spec Ops and leveled up like a few more guys, and they're looking pretty fearsome. I start the game out with 3 pain tokens now, and I love it. It completely fixes all of my gripes with the team.
Who have you played against so far, and do you have any highlights or lowlights from your games?
I played against Tristan once with his Warp Coven. He switched back over to them. It was not very pleasant for his Warp Coven in a few spots. My gunners are extra mean now, so they're starting out with 3 APL. They're pregame dashing, then they're moving, and then they're dashing, and then they're dashing, and then they're shooting, and then they're dashing away after they kill someone. So it gets pretty wild in narrative. You've got an operative that's moving 21 inches basically across the board with an AP2 weapon, full rerolls, stuff like that. The game gets silly.
I mean, I think that's why we play narrative, to see the silliness that you can get with all the extra tools you can get, and that sounds absolutely ridiculous. Those gunners are nasty enough, but being able to just run all over the board and do whatever the heck they want first turn sounds even worse.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Jack's legionaries, I think that the leader is up to like extra attack on everything, so it's like 6 attacks in melee, hitting on 2s, 2 feel no pains, 15 wounds. It just gets insane how some of the upgrades start to pile up on these operatives.
Do you think that the narrative makes games go faster, at least the games itself, because everything gets a lot more killy? And I know there's bookkeeping afterwards, but do you feel like games move faster? And do people like yourself or like Jack, do you feel like you play a little more loose because it's a narrative game, and even if you lose, you're gonna win something?
I mean, I play as loose as I can generally on casual nights. I think that with the models just doing wacky stuff, it becomes a lot harder to predict the outcome of the game because you really don't know what an operative can do. Each faction has its own special rules and equipment and stuff like that, and it can really like throw off the game. Like there's a piece of equipment for the hand of the Archon, so when they're shot at or you charge, they can immediately make a fly dash out of the way, which it's crazy, because like you think that you're going to make this kill and then suddenly they're back over the wall and you can't do anything about it.
Well, I'm excited to hear more stories about some cool plays, and like I said, I'm gonna there's a couple channels on the Discord, and you can, if you're not on the Discord already, jump in and you can see the open comms, which people talk about. They put up announcements for their teams or what's going on with their planets, and they talk about some of their games and stuff too. So I'm gonna jump in there and we'll get some for next week to highlight those too. So speaking of our community, let's take some questions from Ask Vox Cascadia. So last week, one of the questions that was asked of us was, what's the best entrance song? And Connor then put it back to the community and asked what their favorite entrance songs were. And we got a lot of great answers from everybody. Really appreciate you putting your favorite songs in there for the entrance songs. And Connor, you're working on a playlist for that?
Yep, that is correct. I've been working on getting a little thing set up so that way we can have an official Kill Team playlist. And I think it'd be kind of fun. I'm going to try and avoid telling the answers overall, even though there is a chat record for most of them. But I got a decent amount on the Instagram. So it'll be fun to try and see people guess what songs go to which person or which Kill Team, which will be pretty fun. And it'll just be a bunch of sick pump up music to get ready to while you drive to the store to go kick ass in Kill Team.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting music selections for people's teams. Some of it is very fitting. Some of it adds a lot of like vibe to people's teams if you know them and you know the band and stuff like that. It's really cool. I always try to select the music for my kill teams and stuff like that. In fact, I have a lot of Kill Team playlist and Warhammer playlist made up on my Spotify.
Connor, are you going to add in High School Musical in there too? Because you said in the past that was your pump up song, Troy Bolton.
I'll do it for Nick. How about that?
Nick will definitely appreciate that.
Sweet, yeah. I mean, like anyone that's either watched it or is around my age will appreciate it because that's probably one of our first like pump up jam songs we got experience to. So can't complain about that.
Yeah, well, Nick is not near your age, so that's the thing. That's the weird part.
Well, a man can't enjoy a nice musical now, Chuck. Is that illegal? I thought it was a free country.
I mean, I don't know if you watch the news, you can't tell anymore, but no, he does enjoy quite a few musicals. So in the middle of this, also, I would like to do our new recurring segment. Jenna, are you listening? Jenna, are you listening to the podcast? Jenna, did you listen to the podcast?
Can we tell a story of what happened last week when we did the Jen, are you listening to the podcast segment?
We can, yes, actually. So, my lovely girlfriend, she was listening to the podcast one day on the way to work and was asking about something. And the next night, I was trying to figure out if skincare was one word or two words when I was typing up the show notes so we could put them out. She heard that, and the next day, as soon as I published the show, she went and she wanted the timestamp for where the skincare portion was. Well, I wasn't going to tell her. I said you have to find it, thinking she would listen to the whole thing, but no, she just found the skincare portion. So she missed the Jen, are you listening portion of the show? So I'm curious if she will organically find it this time and this story and be mortified.
I kind of hope she doesn't, because that'll just continue this trend where we can keep asking her and be like, yeah, we're like 8 episodes in before you finally notice, which will be hilarious.
One of my favorite things is to beat a joke into the ground. So I appreciate everybody coming along this journey with us.
You got to do something that's funny until it's unfunny, and then keep doing it until it becomes even funnier than it originally was.
It's like you're in my head, Tyler.
That's the premise of like early 2000s, late 90s comedy in my mind. All the stuff you and I were raised with.
Before Connor was even born.
I'm sorry that I'm young. My bad.
And that was Jenna, are you listening? So let's get back to some more community questions. There's a question from definitely not Connor. What's your dream terrain setting? Cramped jungle, floating cities, on a boat, doing flips and shit?
I would like to see like Eldar stuff, maybe like an Exodite jungle planet, so you get like organic looking buildings and plants incorporated into them. I think that would be super, super, super dope.
I'm glad you got the on a boat reference I was going for. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool. A Exodite planet, like almost kind of like the jungle terrain they were doing for Warcry a little bit, where it was like jungle overgrowing old ruins and stuff. That's always just a cool looking thing. So having that officially for like Kill Team, or rather 40k, would be pretty sick.
Yeah, the finger trees are really cool in Warcry. In this last set, I wish it was more usable in Kill Team, and it gave me an excuse to purchase it.
That'd be fair, yeah. It's cool terrain, so I'm always glad when you pull it out. Thank you, Defnat Connor, for asking the question as well. But I myself, I would love to see like the top of a skyscraper. I don't know if you guys ever played Halo ODST, but there's a mission in it where like you're on the very top of a skyscraper in like like a futuristic setting, like kind of cyberpunky city. And one of the sections you're running along is a skyscraper under construction. So you're running along like, high beam, or not high beams, but cranes carrying I beams that are like so high up in the air you're above the cloud layer and stuff. I think that'd make for such a cool idea of like a kill team. Like you're trying to break into the top of a building to like secure, a VIP or like a vault or something like that. It'd be super cool. You could have some really cool terrain, and hey, maybe a little bit of like flying specialisms there could be pretty neat too.
Sounds very Rainbow Six Vegas to me, which I love.
A little bit, yeah, kind of like that one. There is the one map that's on the top of like a Japanese skyscraper, so that's a good comparison. That'd be pretty cool too.
When I think skyscraper and shooter, I think Battlefield 4, the Shanghai towers, where you could go take the elevator to the top and you could even like shoot out the pillars from underneath and take down the whole building. I loved that game.
Oh, that was incredible. Taking the ATV to the top and running over all the people that were up there, classic, and then C4 off the edge into an enemy tank. Loved it.
That was a good game. Not as good. I liked Battlefield 4, but still my peak is Bad Company 2, because that was the one where like the destruction was literally everything. And there's nothing more fun than like the rush mode where you're like, we have one of two objectives, and one of those objectives is in a building. Best way to capture that objective is just leveling the building. I miss calling in recon strikes. Bring it back.
Oh my god, they need to bring back Bad Company. Don't even get me started. That is probably the single best multiplayer shooter that has ever existed, in my opinion.
I'm so glad you played that, Tyler. I wasn't sure if you guys did, like, because it was kind of in that, it makes sense. But that was like peak. That was like Halo 3, like 2007. There was COD 4, and then Bad Company 1, and then Modern Warfare 2, and then Bad Company 2. It was just like a solid 5 years of some of the best FPSs like for consoles.
Bad Company 2 on PC was the shit. It was a single. I love it. Rainbow Six Siege early on was good, but nothing has ever been as chaotic and like just absolute. Like it just captured the gunplay and everything perfectly forever in my heart. I've been chasing that high ever since.
Yeah, I didn't have it on PC because I was like 12, so I had an Xbox 360. But the Bad Company 2 Vietnam DLC, I have to give that the reason, even though it's a terrible period of history. I love the setting, and there's a lot of cool stuff. Like, if I was to ever do a movie, it would be like an alternate history, like Vietnam, but with like almost Vietnam zombies or like Vietnam weird sci-fi. That was the game that inspired my interest in like weird Cold War shit. So I gotta appreciate the game for yet another reason. Great game. Please remaster it and make it good.
I'm actually downloading Bad Company 2 right now as we speak because of this conversation.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
installing.
It was a good campaign too. Chuck, did you ever play Bad Company 2? Do you even know what we're talking about?
What are video games? Yeah.
Boomer.
Yeah. Bro, come on. I mean, I played the NES when it came out, so don't give me that.
What was
That's
the
pretty-
dinosaurs like, Chuck?
They were gone at least 5 years before I was born.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I played a little bit of Bad Company. I never really played much of the Bad Company games. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 were my jams.
That's fair. That's fair. Still good games, but just I think the peak was Bad Company 2. But back onto the topic of Def Not Connor's question, what would your dream terrain or like setting be, Chuck?
I think it'd be probably more like cityscapes, because I feel like when I think 40K or I think Warhammer, I think of like an Imperial city that's in ruins, like seeing shots from Space Marine 2 that's coming out. I think areas like that. And I mean, we kind of have that, and we could kind of make that right now with like the Chalnath terrain and stuff, but maybe like Chalnath, but a little more playable and maybe a little more dense and maybe a little more vertical too. But good verticality, not the like Chalnath verticality.
Yeah, I can see that. I think like honestly, but like a sort of a Chalnath mixed with a little bit of ITD, where you could access the buildings themselves either by like blowing up holes in walls, kind of like that one Sprue had for ITD. Just like a little bit more rules to reflect like confined fighting in like Imperial administrative buildings, like cramped hallways and office spaces, but then still a little bit of open space could be really, really fun and a really cool setting to have too. Like the old terrain they used to have that was like really modular and stackable. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like I think 5 or 6 years ago.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. This sounds like a fever dream.
It might have been 3D printed or like a third party. I'll have to see if I can find it and prove that I'm not crazy, I guess.
And next question comes from Adelaide. Many of the Primarchs are bald. Do you think the Horus Heresy would have been prevented if they had Disco Froze from the 70s instead?
I mean, I think that's gonna up the amount of competition. Like, one of the worst things you could do is give a bunch of men even larger, more luscious hair and then make them compete for attention. Like that's just room for extra peacocking. Imagine, how crazy Fulgrim's fro would have been.
That yeah, I was gonna say it would probably like just have everyone be too groovy to dance, but knowing the Primarchs, they'd take that as a competition and a challenge of like themselves. So probably would result in a worse Horus Heresy, but I do like the idea of every Space Marine having a fro.
Do we think that Vulcan was actually on the wrong side? Because, I mean, do you think Vulcan and Fulgrim should have been flipped? Because pretty much everybody on Horus's side were bald except for Fulgrim, and we don't know what Alpharius looks like. And who's the angry Night Lords guy?
Kurz.
But everybody else on the Emperor's side had like luscious locks.
That's true. I guess that's no, because they need one good bald guy, because there is occasionally a cool good bald guy. Plus, like Vulcan would never hate fight or would never have the enthusiasm to fight humans as much as he does fighting the Eldar. For my limited knowledge of what he does.
Yeah, all I really know about Vulcan is he burned up an Eldar kid.
To be fair, I think it was like a Drukhari or something, or maybe it was because like his planet got raided by Drukhari a bunch, so he didn't really realize there could be not evil elves. But I don't know. I'm sure we're butchering the lore, and anyone that's a big Salamanders fan is very upset with us right now.
This is lore accurate. I confirmed it with James Workshop, so everything you hear here is canon, you guys. This podcast is the number one lore authority on the internet in the world for Warhammer 40k and all its sources.
Oh, sweet. I didn't realize we could put that in the accolade list, but I'll throw it in.
Yeah, this is where Arbiter Ian comes to get all his information, and we're basically writing the next stage of the 40k universe too.
AdMech win. That's what I'm saying happens.
So if we had the 70s disco froze, do you think we'd have like tie-dye armor then too?
I'm sure the Emperor's Children would somehow find a way to utilize like a disco floor as a weaponry.
So tie-dye is like 60s, 70s was more like you getting into the OG patterns and stuff like that, like wavy, groovy stuff. Even that is late 60s. A lot of the stuff we think of as early 80s is 70s. So I think it's going to be more funky, a little bit more coked out. The Primarchs are not going to be real friendly with each other. They're going to be throwing competitions at each other. The 70s was a wild time. You look at the movies that were produced back then, and they're just like insane, some of the premises.
I think we're going to need a Boogie Nights remake, but the Primarchs are all the ones that are the adult film stars in it.
Who would you put in which role?
Let's see. It was Dirk Diggler was the main character. What was Mark Wahlberg's character?
Yeah, I think Dirk Diggler. That sounds right. I haven't seen the movie literally since high school. So,
Connor, have you ever seen that movie? Connor's never seen that movie. Dirk Diggler. Gosh, so dumb and gifted, but not too. I was thinking Angron maybe, but he's not too angry. He does get angry near the end though.
What if instead of Boogie Nights it was Orgasmo?
Sorry, I just realized I didn't unmute my mic and was confused why you didn't hear me. No, I have not seen Boogie Nights. The closest I get to like 70s or 80s movies is The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Great movie, probably one of my favorites of all time. But I've not seen enough of like the 70s and 80s movies.
It's basically Boogie Nights. It's pretty much the same story, I think.
Hey, it's a good movie, so I'll have to watch it because I love The Nice Guys. So I'll watch anything that's kind of like it.
Yeah, you should just watch it. Don't watch a trailer. Don't go into it with any idea of what it's about. Just go watch it. Sit down with Sierra, and you guys watch Boogie Nights, and then report back to us.
The way you were just saying that with the tone of voice is very concerning to me.
You should be concerned, but just do this for me, buddy. Okay?
I'll see what I can do.
I will paint up another Skitarii.
Okay, I'll do it.
Perfect. I can't wait for your book report on Boogie Nights next week. But Tyler, back to your suggestion of Orgasmo. Amazing movie. I guarantee Connor hasn't seen that one either. And yeah, there's so many lines from that movie that to quote that I'm not going to say on the podcast. But one of the South Park dudes, one of their finest works of art that you can't even see anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to find online, but worth watching. Absolutely demented and completely quotable in the right company.
Yeah, I worked at Blockbuster for a very, very long time, and I actually think I saw it. The only way I saw it was we got a screener of it, and it wasn't even for Blockbuster because it was an NC-17 movie, but we had a screener copy of it, and that's how I saw Orgasmo.
I miss Blockbuster. You should bring that back. You have that power,
No.
right?
If I did, I wouldn't.
Oh, well, that's just, I just like going. I only had great times because I was like 5 and I got to see a bunch of movies and get popcorn.
Yeah, but I worked there for like 14 years.
Oh God, I can imagine how awful that was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's better video stores in Portland anyways you can go to that are hipper and cooler.
Movie Madness put it on the list for the Kill Scream 3 tour guide.
Yeah, fantastic place. An absolutely iconic Portland location.
Connor, they have this thing there. They're called VHS tapes. So they use them in a VCR. Okay. You have to rewind them when you're done too.
I actually do know that. Believe it or not. Plenty of my mom's movie collection is still VHS. Like I think we still watch Elf for Christmas on the VHS.
Elf's a classic.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I can't do VHS anymore though. So Adelaide had another question too. If you were to put miniatures representing Roman legionaries on bases, how would you represent them mechanically in Kill Team?
So I think that how you do that is you just give them a buff for being next to each other. They've got to be in formation, otherwise they like break and lose morale and have to regroup or something. And you just give them like a shit ton of dudes, like 18 dudes or something, and make them all kind of crappy when they're apart, pretty solid when they're together, until you hit them with a grenade or blast or anything like that.
So they're going to have some extra blast protection. If not, you just take them all down. But I do like the idea of like the phalanx where you have people, I think that was Roman legionaries, there's some of those, one of those armies, where if you're standing next to someone, not only do you get extra buffs, but they're all going to have shields too, right? So some mechanics kind of like the breachers where they're all breacher guys and you just have to get into them to kill them.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. You just gotta get through them, and then once you're in, they'd probably fall apart pretty fast. But that's gonna be the hard part, or uneven terrain.
What about their ability to melee? Maybe they can like melee you from, they don't have to be within engagement range. They can melee you within like 3 inches because they have super long spears.
That's one of the cool things that happens in Warcry, actually, which is a wonderful game that lots of people should play. Is getting a lot of stuff taken away from it.
Yeah, our compadres on the fantasy side are getting kind of beat up. So hopefully that doesn't happen to us in the future.
I hear that Warcry has not been very successful, despite being a very good game, and that the next edition is going back to a classic Games Workshop setting for skirmish, which, if it does, Kill Team Cascadia may change into something else.
Yeah, I mean, Warcry always seemed cool. The AOS sculpts and Warcry sculpts were always some of the coolest ones. But if I didn't buy into it and I buy everything, then you know that it's probably not selling great.
Chuck, please make sure you buy every Kill Team box they ever make.
I have bought every Kill Team box they've ever made, actually, so far.
Sweet. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you're doing for this community. Yeah, it sucks that Warcry is not doing too hot because I've heard great things about it. Never played it, so I guess I might be part of the problem. But anytime a game loses steam and starts to go away, it always kind of sucks to hear about.
I'll tell you, it's the same thing that happened with Blockbuster. Is like you reminisce and like, oh, Blockbuster was so amazing. And I whenever anybody finds out that I work for Blockbuster, I hear the same thing like, oh, I loved Blockbuster. Everybody loved Blockbuster. They quit doing it and they quit going to it because they had other ways to do it. And that's the same thing. Like, oh, Warcry, I heard it's awesome. Nobody's playing it though.
To be fair, I can't be blamed for not going to Blockbuster. I was like 6. I could not drive, and the closest one was like a 45-minute bike ride away. And I didn't have money to rent videos yet.
Not an excuse. You killed Blockbuster.
I'll put that on my resume.
And then Sherd Nick has a question. When will we get a non-compendium bespoke specific Space Marine chapter team? And I would say, what chapter would you like to see? We just got the Night Lords. So I think this is really kind of the first chapter we've ever gotten that's chapter specific. So who would you guys like to see on the Loyalist side? I have my answer.
I mean, we know you're picking Blood Angels, which would be fantastic. I'd like to see like Death Company or something like that if we're going to get Blood Angels. Space Wolves would be cool if you're into that kind of stuff. No judgment. We don't kink shame here.
Worries.
Yeah. You have lots of money. Help us with our events and stuff. And then Dark Angels, obviously the most fitting since they had the first kill team ever. Death Watch, always fitting. But my personal choice would be the Marines Malevolent.
So tell us a little bit about the Marines Malevolent.
They are the worst bastards in the setting. They are the ultimate practical Marines, but like assholes. They'll bomb an orphanage because it only makes sense rather than trying to save all the people in the orphanage and kill the orcs. They're going to be killed anyways by the Inquisition or whatever. So why waste some time? Let's just flatten the orphanage. They got beef with the Mechanicus. They got beef with all of the Space Marine chapters. They got beef with the Imperial Guard. They got beef with Chaos. And they're dressed in piss-colored armor, kind of gold, but mostly piss. And I personally think that the prophecy in the setting about a lone golden warrior standing up to Chaos and saving the Emperor, it's going to be a Marines Malevolent. They'll just be there being practical as fuck.
I like that Dante thinks it's maybe him, but it's the Piss Marines instead in your fan fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, everyone thinks it's going to be this great hero, and it's just this like absolute fucking bastard. He's the worst, most rotten guy, but he's there to get the job done. It doesn't matter.
I do like, just did a quick Google search. I like the chapter logo. The armor is pretty piss yellow. I can see it. Personally, I'd go with, of course, what I think just Blood Angels fits the best because there's the most unique stuff they can do. Dark Angels are really cool, and I like the chapter. but I don't think they really fit relatively in a Kill Team level, just because I think a lot of this stuff isn't like on the bikes or Terminators, right? Which feels a little out of scale for Kill Team.
Bring us Terminators.
No.
Yeah. Now, come on. You got the company veterans. You've got those new the Unforgiven models or the Risen, which are super dope. No, it's come on. Dark Angels are like they're like the most Space Marine.
Okay.
You know, like
I could see that then. But personally,
they're like I was gonna say they're the best of the best of the best. They got it. They got it all, baby.
Okay, I can at least see that, but I still have to stay with Blood Angels just because I think there'd be a lot of cool mechanics you could have with like bringing Death Company guys, and it's like depending on what you want to do, you could have a chaplain in the team to kind of like give buffs to the Death Company Marines because if you're going off 40k stats, they don't have objectives control unless they're near a chaplain, which is a kind of cool mechanic you could implement in Kill Team. I would love to see a Chuck. You're gonna have to tell me the name, but the guys with the wings, it's not the
Sanguinary Guard.
Sanguinary Guard. I would love to see a Marine with fly. Just a single one, nothing too crazy, but that could be a cool model on the team. And then just, just some cool Flamer Marines. I know people often associate like Black Templars or Salamanders with like Flamers, but Blood Angels have it a little bit, or rather the Inferno Pistol. I want more of that in Kill Team. Some really crazy stuff. And Blood Angels are just cool. I like the red armor, so make that happen. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'd like to see obviously Blood Angels team with a chaplain and some sort of rule where you start off with and kind of maybe built like the Strike Force Justinian team where you have a more powerful leader and you start off and maybe each turn, or if you take damage or something, you have to roll and see if they fall to the Black Rage. And then at that point, like you talked about, like you maybe it makes it a little more random, but maybe you lose objective control, or if you're unless you're within like 6 of your chaplain or something. I think that'd be a really, really fun team.
Ooh, I didn't even think about like the whole Black Rage really as like a mechanic you could roll for, but that could be pretty neat too. Like maybe if you like get to a critical health point, you could activate it kind of the way you activate an anointed character on Legionaries.
And I was actually thinking about doing a Loyalist Legionaries, and my anointed was going to be a Death Company Marine. So, because they fall to the Black Rage, and then they kind of become like the anointed. They can't do any actions, and they just run around and whack people.
Yeah, I think it's very fitting for Legionaries. Honestly, you just run. They're known to have powerful psychers like Mephiston and stuff like that. So, Balefire Acolyte, stand in, and then the rest of the team works too because they're a bunch of lunatics. I think it even worked for the Night Lords to a certain degree, other than the kind of stealth mechanics.
Oh, I like that too, actually. If you go, so, I mean, you can't get them anymore, but gosh, Flesh Terror's Chapter Master has that two-handed like eviscerator chainsword for your skin thief. Yeah, maybe I'll do a loyalist Night Lords.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I'd love to see it.
All right, and then we have a letter that was sent to us. So I'm going to read this out. And Dearest Vox Cascadia, while listening to the most recent episode of the show, while consuming what the distinguished individuals were telling me through my Vox and building a healthy parasocial dependency, not only on them, but the designers employed by J Workshop Esquire, I was pondering a conundrum that has been discussed by scholars for generations. Being an individual of enterprise myself, my secretary was unable to set aside time in my schedule to ponder my query, and thus her position has been terminated. I am deferring such a quandary to men of the scientific method yourselves. Is a model injured at half or below half? Kindest regards, Mrs. Page, divorcee of Phobos Strike Team.
The question you have to ask yourself when you ask this kind of question is how meaningful is it? And like that's going to tell you the answer to this, because if it's really meaningful, then it's half. If it's not very meaningful, it could be below half, or it could be the other way around. We really don't know.
But is it meaningful though? That's the question. Is it meaningful? I think you have to ask yourself, is it meaningful?
I'm not sure how meaningful it is, but it could be meaningful. So like that's the question of the age, is really how meaningful this all is to you.
So is a model injured at half or below half? So say you have 4 red circles, say
Not
4
the
red emojis.
circles.
So 4 red emojis and 4 green emojis. Okay. Are you injured when you have lost the 4 red emojis, or are you injured once you've lost one of the green emojis as well?
I mean, you gotta lose one of the green emojis, technically, But again, it's a matter of how meaningful this all is to you. To me, this is the most meaningful thing.
I want 4 green and 4 red circles as a shirt too, Tyler. Throw that on the list too. Like a bunch of tech priests standing over a table looking like the thinker, staring at 8 circles of 2 different colors.
I think that this is very, very niche content for y'all. This probably doesn't mean anything unless you've been on our community for a minute, but it's good, it's good stuff.
It's probably
It's
one of the
meaningful.
funniest running jokes we have in the community.
Yeah, this is like deep cut, like me arguing with someone and using emojis, circles to try and explain my point.
It's the most meaningful thing you can do, again, in your life. And this is our most meaningful episode because I've said it at least 30 times now, probably.
So thank you, Paige, for bringing that meaningful content to the entire Vox Cascadia community.
As someone else who enjoys going ridiculously overboard in prose for something so stupid, I full support. I thank you so much, Paige, for this beautiful, beautiful text.
And thank you all for all the community questions. We love the silly ones as much as we do, maybe even more than the serious ones. So, Connor, I know that you wanted to talk about some of our geographic location of our audience, because while 85% of our listenership comes from the US of A, we've got people all over the world that listen to this foolishness.
Yeah, very true. Like you said, we kind of talked about it, I think, a little bit last episode or the episode beforehand, but we've had now a decent amount of listeners pop up in Europe. So if you're friends with Tyler, as most of you seem to be through Tyler's large connection of this Kill Team knowledge, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We appreciate all of you. I've seen a couple of you guys out on the East Coast tuning in and commenting on the Instagram stories as well. So thank you so much for that as well. That feels good to get a notification and see someone popping in to throw their opinion or their song into the playlist as well. And as always, we just really appreciate it. This has been super fun so far, and I hope you guys are enjoying as much as we are.
I don't think anybody's enjoying it as much as we are.
All right, well, I don't know how to take that, whether you're saying like we're having a super great time or everyone else just hates our content. So I'm going to go with we're having a super great time and everyone else is having a great time, but it's not as super great as us.
I'm definitely having a meaningful time, so that's important.
Perfect. So we do have some listeners from across the planet, though. We have listeners in Denmark, New Zealand, Canada, United Kingdom, Finland, and Germany. So if you are listening to this in another country, I'm sorry you don't have any good content in your country and have to fall back on this, but I also really appreciate it. Pop in the Discord, pop in the Ask Vox Cascadia or the Vox chat and tell us where you're from. And let's see who's the farthest person away who listens to this foolishness. KillTeamCascadia.com to find our Discord. Come on in and say hi. You had to find it there. And actually, tell us, too, where you found it from, since you're listening on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, very true. And dang it, Chuck, you beat me to it right as I was scrolling up to try and find that picture to find it. But yeah, on the topic of long distance, please come to Killscream 3 from across the country, or the world, rather. That would be super, super cool. And I kind of have an idea in mind to hook up the person that travels the farthest distance. I don't know if I can say that. So it's just cool to know that someone in Denmark has heard my voice on the internet. That's just cool that we can talk about a stupid little game and people enjoy us enough to join and become a part of our community or come to our tournaments and everything. That's super awesome and feels incredible.
Yeah, everyone should know that we may come off as a tabletop club here in Kill Team Cascadia, but we are actually a mutual aid network. You guys can do the same, form community through this game and help each other out, make a bunch of friends, and do cool stuff.
Well, gentlemen, it's that time where we plug a bunch of stuff and say thank you. So Blunt Force Beatdown is next weekend on 420. There is a few tickets left. You can still sign up for that. It's going to be a 48-player tournament if we can sell it out. So it's going to be biggest tournament we've run so far this year, but and actually biggest tournament in the Northwest. So come on in. You can say hi to Connor. And like I said before, you can tell him in person why the AdMech suck.
Please don't do that. Or at least say you came because of the podcast and then you can, I guess. But yeah, come down to that. That's going to be super fun. I'll be there. A bunch of my Seattle friends. We got Garrett, Tyler, Zarin, and of course the one and only Mr. the Champ, Brandon the Bean, the belt owner himself, coming down. I believe he's coming as a TO, so that'll be super cool. Unfortunately, that means I can't attempt to fight him and get my ass kicked, but it'll be a very good time, and we'd love to see everyone there.
Yeah, Brandon coming down, our sword holder Last Kill Scream to TO is always appreciated. Thanks, Brandon. And then this is Tyler. If you didn't know, you can find me at Lowbrow Minis on Instagram _lowbrow_minis, and then dicethrower.bigcartel.com.
And I'm sure, speaking of Dice Thrower, we'll have some cool shirts there. Tyler kind of posted the photo the other day. I'll make sure to put that on Vox Cascadia. And the shirts are going to look sick. They're awesome. Cool ass orc design. Super exciting. Can't wait to get my hands on one.
Yeah. Just because art's taken so long, they probably won't be at the actual event, but they will go up on for pre-sale probably that day. So you guys can order in person or through the web, stuff like that. And then we'll get them out shortly after that.
Dang, bummer to hear. But yeah, definitely make sure to order one. Very nice design. And you'll look cool as hell in it.
And Connor, we talked about a little earlier the event being held up in your neck of the woods. You want to talk about that and what's going on with it?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. I've been working so hard to try and get something up to you guys here in the local Washington area because a bunch of you are also members of the community that just can't make it down to Oregon to plan one of our events. And it's been like nearly a year since we had one. So I'm very excited to be working, with Tyler, Chuck, all of KTC to be bringing a full shebang KTC event up to here. It's happening May 18th. In Bremerton at Comics Keep in Bremerton, Washington, of course. We're going to be doing the full shebang, 4-round tournament, top cut, probably 8 or 6 players, depending on the amount of people we get for the final round. There will be a belt, which is super exciting. We're going to have the bounty board, which is probably one of the coolest things we do. And it's so much fun. I always enjoy the hell out of that. Of course, the raffle, plenty of prize support. Just please, whatever you can do, show up because I want this to go incredibly well. And I want you to all have a great time. And I'm sure you will if you come. And I know I've already talked to a bunch of you about hey, make sure you sign up. So please do as soon as you can.
Yeah, I'm going to be coming up for the event to set up and TO and all that stuff. So come out, shake some hands, meet some people. Like I said, make friends, play this game in person, get to know your community.
Yeah, absolutely. I that's the other big aspect is I want a bunch of the Washington people to meet my Oregon friends and my Oregon friends to meet my Washington friends and all that and vice versa. So all you Oregon people that are thinking about coming out, please do. If some of you mention in a message at some point you love to, I will call you out on the podcast and say, hey, you talked about it. You better come. Road trip, because that's what we do. And it's a fun road trip. It's not too bad. Grab 2 of your buds. It's only like a 3-ish hour drive. It's not too bad. And you'll have a great time. And you get to check out a new store with plenty of cool merch in it. And we'll have plenty of cool merch to give out too. Or not really merch, but prize support to give out.
I think the Oregon peeps have got to come up and play in this tournament because if y'all remember how Kill Scream 2 ended, it ended with a top 4 cut that was all Washington players.
That's because Washington's the best.
Let's be clear. Greg and I were both TOing.
Washington's the best, so come up to Washington, get some competition. You can fight all of us who have been training directly under Brandon Bean through getting our asses handed to us by him. So it'll be a super good time.
I'm just saying, Tyler, those are the numbers. It was all Washington top 4.
It's not wrong. Statistics, baby.
Listen, I'll tell you this. There's only 2 people from Washington that have ever beat me. And that was Brandon Bean once and Matt. So beat me, and then you can talk shit.
Well, I mean, I beat Matt, so by proxy, I guess I beat you.
I mean, that's just a matchup thing. You got lucky there.
Oh, okay.
All right, I need to beat Tyler so I can be put on that exclusive list now. I need to figure it out.
And to be fair, Tyler, the one game we've played was like my first competitive game of Kill Team. So
that's true. It's been a minute. So, Connor and I finally got one in, which was a blast. So.
And I know you said the Dice Thrower merch wasn't going to be ready, but we were kind of brainstorming pre-podcast, and I really want to talk about this because I think we have a great idea. So I think Connor brought it up as far as Dice Thrower hot sauce, and we talked about hot sauce, talked about salsa. I think Dice Thrower hot sauce would be amazing, and I can think of at least 3 kinds. Okay, you've got plasma, and you can either get it at AP1 or you can get it AP2, or you've got Melta, which just is like pretty much, it's always AP2, so it's going to be one of the hotter ones.
You have the mortal wounds on the Melta one, so that's why it's the hottest, because it'll mortal wound your tongue through how hot it is.
I like this idea. It sounds good. We're at that age where we need to start taking up other hobbies at least. So why not hot sauce? Could be smoking meats. Maybe it'll be a barbecue sauce next.
That's what Kill Scream 3 and maybe probably 4, if we get into the aspect of it. But come to Kill Scream 3. We'll start having hot sauces there, and Tyler's like barbecue.
I am not having hot sauce by Kill Scream, y'all. That is insane.
Kill Scream 4, Tyler. We got a year
4
and some change.
Yeah, we could maybe 4. You know, a soda would be cool. I'm a soda guy or an energy drink guy. I think that'd be fun. But speaking of like weird merch stuff, I'm actually going to be putting out a little zine. I think if any of y'all are listening and you want to work on a tabletop skirmish zine, hit me up on Discord or on Instagram or something like that, and we'll talk. I'll take a look through your stuff and we'll go from there.
I also want to hear more hot sauce ideas because I'm actually, my last name's Pepper. Maybe this is going to have to be my little offshoot that Tyler's got Dice Thrower merch and I'm going to have, Pepper's Kill Team sauce or something. I don't know.
I would just call it Chuck's Peppers.
That's so good. That's a great name.
All right. Well, we'll workshop that a little bit. So, anyways, I'm Chuck Pepper. I'm Pain Cave Minis on Instagram, and I'm not posting hardly at all. So I've got to get on that. I'll do it. I'm going to post before this episode goes live. One thing we never asked for is if y'all could give us like a 5-star rating or even any rating, 5 stars, please, and a review on whatever you listen to this on. Right now we're on Spotify and we're on Apple Podcasts, but we're going to be getting an RSS feed going and spreading out to wherever you find y'all's podcasts. So thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you again same bat time next week. Connor, do you know what that's from?
Vaguely, but I'm afraid I don't know for sure.
It's a Night Lords reference. It's bats.
Oh, I feel dumb. I should have got that.
It's from the 1960s Night Lords live action superhero show.
Oh man, now I want to paint my Night Lords like Adam West Batman.
I mean, that would be fitting for the Northwest. I mean, that was what Seattle's first, real mayor. Like
Adam West was Seattle's mayor, but also an actor.
Yeah, Adam West, Batman.
Yeah, I knew that. Batman. I knew he was the Batman guy. I didn't realize he was the mayor of Seattle. That's nuts.
No, he's the mayor on Family Guy, though. But, he's just such an iconic Washington figure to me.
Okay, that's fair. I was blown away about how I didn't know that fact, so that makes more sense.
Him and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Connor, do you know who Sir Mix-a-Lot is?
I know the name. I'm probably wrong on this part. Was that the guy that wore the clock all the time around his neck?
No, that's Flavor Flav.
Fuck, my bad.
All right, you got some homework. I need you to also listen to Baby Got Back before.
Oh, I know Baby Got Back. Come on.
Okay, then you know Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Okay.
So, and I'm thinking Night Lords, I'm going to do yellow trim. I'm going to do a blue-gray and lots of dead Admech on the base.
I hate you so much.
What was that, Sierra?
Sierra thought I was saying I hate you to her because she took out the trash and then slammed on the window and then she came into the room now. But no, I was telling Chuck that I hate him, not you, baby.
How dare you do that to that sweet, sweet lady I've never met?
She's great. You'll meet her when you come up for the Colossal Cage match. I don't know if we ever said the name of the event. That's what's happening up in Washington. So sign up now for the Colossal Cage match.
This has turned into like the longest closing ever.
It really has.
Thank you all. We love you.